darpanmarjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam shreyah kairavachandrika vitaranam vidyavadhu jivanam anandam prativardhanam pratipadam purnamritaswadanam sarvatmasnapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Dhyanamoolam Gururmurtihi Pujamoolam Gururpadam Mantramoolam Gururvakyam Bhaktimoolam Gurur Kripa. Yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedanscha prahinoti tasmai tagvangha devamatma buddhi prakasham mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapatye. Let us chant the divine name for a few minutes. Please clap as you chant. Hare Ram, Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Studying and acquiring the knowledge of the scriptures. So when the period of his studentship was coming to an end and as he was preparing to leave, his guru's abode, he approached his master and said that living with you in this pure and sacred abode has been so wonderful. And I have been protected from the attractions of the world while living here, and the dangerous attractions of the world and the temptations of the world. I have been so protected here. But now that I am leaving, and I will be going out there amidst the strife and the battle of secular life, please guide me, please shed light in my path. How will I protect myself from or against the onslaught of worldliness and Maya? Please, Gurudev. So his guru reflected for a while and he said, come on, follow me. So he followed his guru, and they came upon an opening in a thick forest. And there was a mongoose by the name of Sukavichi, or the well-armored. And so this mongoose was very agile and alert all the time, because the forest where he was living was infested with all kinds of fierce serpents with deadly poison. So he was always having to confront his foes. And so when they entered the glade, the disciple and the guru, one such fight was in progress. So the mongoose was facing the serpent, and he was very alert. He was very alert. And when he was attacked by the serpent, who was trying to grip the mongoose was so agile that he was able to protect himself. And at times the serpent did manage to bite him. And at intervals, what he did was he disappeared in the thicket of the forest, and he came back fresh and vigorous, as if he was never wounded or hurt or anything. So eventually, because he was never exhausted, but the serpent seemed to feel and get weaker and weaker, and its ferocity started to diminish eventually and gradually. In the end, the mongoose killed the serpent, and he emerged triumphant and unscathed. So as the disciple was watching this in wonderment, he turned to his guru to be enlightened for what he was watching and witnessing. So then the guru said, this is exactly what you just witnessed, is exactly the struggle between man, an individual, and the serpent of worldliness. Yes, this is exactly the struggle. So when you go back out there in the world, it is possible that you may be poisoned by the world, but when that happens, keep your eyes open, those inner eyes of discrimination, keep them wide open and be alert and agile always in every moment. Take recourse in sadhana, seclusion, devotion, bhakti. Because the magic herbs of the sadhana and bhakti will protect you against the poison of the world. That is what will happen. So, what has Sri Maharaj told us about devotion? What exactly is devotion? There's no shortage of discussion in our country on devotion. And there is no shortage on the various kinds of devotional practices being promoted. There's no shortage whatsoever. And there is a seamlessly endless list of spiritual teachers who are claiming to have known the means to one's ultimate goal of life. So with so much confusion, what are we to do? How can we clear up this confusion? Who will do it for us? Of course, only a saint who has mastery over all the scriptures. Only he can do it. And our Sri Maharaji, the fifth original Jagadguru, Jagadguru Shree Kripaluji Maharaj, has done it for us. He has reconciled all the apparent philosophical contradictions and revealed the essence and told us that devotion or desiring God is devotion. Desiring God is devotion. And this desire is in our mind always. It is always in our mind because we are ceaselessly desiring happiness. And to whatever extent we believe happiness to be in the world, to that same extent, we will have devotion for the world. And to the same extent, our mind will become attached to the world. So desiring happiness is central to our existence, to our being. And it is so powerful that it cannot ever leave us. It cannot leave us. The secret is to take advantage of this power, utilize it to divert all of our worldly desires and passions, steer them toward God. That is the secret. And we have been given that power of knowledge, that power of discrimination. Every one of us has an intrinsic capacity to distinguish between right and wrong. So we have that power to steer, to transport our desires toward God. So if we can understand, if we can accept that happiness is only in Sri Krishna, then automatically we will begin to desire him. To the same extent, we will become attached to him. To the same extent, we will become attached to him because we will begin to realize deep within us that he alone is ours. Only he is mine. He alone is ours. We will begin to realize that. So surrender is another way to describe, surrender of the mind is another way to describe devotion. So when we feel attached to someone, when we feel affectionate towards someone, we become dependent on them emotionally. We depend on them emotionally because they give us, they pacify us, they gratify us. We feel that they give us solace, they console us. So when we feel that, for that emotional attachment to God, that is what devotion is. That is what devotion is. When we feel that attachment to God, that He alone is mine. He alone is mine. When we begin to feel this and to measure the devotion that we have in our heart toward God, we can ask ourselves, to what extent do I believe that Sri Krishna is mine? To what extent do I believe that if I called Him, He will come to me? To what extent do I yearn for Him? So if we ask ourselves these questions, we will be able to gauge how much attachment we have for Him, toward Him, as opposed to the world. Sri Krishna says that if your heart does not melt while remembering me, then there's no bhakti. If your eyes don't shed tears when you chant my divine names and divine glories, then where's the bhakti? Well, if your body doesn't feel a thrill, just as we feel thrilled when we indulge in the world, we feel ecstatic. We feel so drawn toward the world. So if our body doesn't feel a thrill, then there's no devotion. So devotion is very specific. It is not just a physical, external, ritual formality. No. Devotion is when we shed tears. When we shed tears of love and longing for God and yearn earnestly for His divine vision and His divine seva, as Sri Maharaji has in one of his divine compositions, Oh, Dina Kab Ai Hai Aho Hari, Oh, Dina Kab Ai Hai Aho Hari, Gavat Guna Gopal Nirantar, Gavat Gun Gopal Nirantar. Drigana Ashru Bar Sahi Hai Aho Hari. So Sri Maharaji in this divine pad has revealed the sentiments of devotion, that, oh Shri Krishna, when will that day come? Oh Hudin, when will that day come when I Gavat Guna, when I will remember, while remembering your divine virtues, while remembering your infinitely compassionate, nature, personality. When will my heart melt? When will my heart feel that love for you and that longing for you? Oh, my Krishna. So that is devotion. And as Sri Maharaji has beautifully stated, Hari Guru Bhaju Nita Govind Radhe Bhav Nishkam Ananya Bana De. Hari Guru Bhaju Nit. Worship and adore God and Guru Nit, constantly and continuously, perpetually. Bhav Nishkam. Have sentiments of selflessness, Nishkamta, unconditional love, and Ananya, single-mindedness, exclusiveness. So these three, they all together, they constitute devotion. They are the very essence of devotion. They are the foundation of devotion. So let us try to briefly reflect on each one. Hari Guru Nit Bhaju. It is described in the Vedas, Dhata Mata Pita Maha. The Vedas describe that all the relationships of the soul are with Shri Krishna alone. Only with Shri Krishna. The true relationship of every individual soul is with God alone. This means that we belong to God. We belong to Him. Yes. And so I am His, I was His, and I will be His forever. Has not really worked. Endless lifetimes have passed. Shri Krishna has clearly revealed in the Gita, and so have the Vedas. So Sri Maharaji tells us that the sentiments that we should instill in our heart should be, He is mine. He alone is mine. He is mine. And the souls who accepted this fact, this truth, like Tulsi, Sur, Meera, Kabir Das, and all of these, they transcended the limitations of the world, and they received divine vision. And for those who didn't, like us, were still wandering in the world. So Sri Maharaji says that some people, they describe this sentiment as mamai vaso. He only is mine. So Sri Maharaji says this is not correct. The correct way to say is aso eva mama. That only He is mine. Only He is mine. So Sri Maharaji tells us that the day that this teaching or this knowledge will become grounded in us, then what will happen? Our work will be done. We won't have to explore the scriptures. We won't have to listen to any knowledge. We won't have to do anything. Our work will be done. Our goal will be reached. We will reach our goal. So in this Doha, Sri Maharaj says, Hari Guru Bhaju. Guru Bhaju. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha guru. The Vedas tell us that we should worship our Guru with the same sentiments, exact same sentiments as we worship God. Exactly the same. No difference. Because as we chant every morning, just before we recite the beginning prayer, what is that verse that we chant every morning? Acharyam mam vijaniyan navamanyeta karhichit namartya buddhya suyeta sarvadev mayo guru. So Shri Krishna himself has said in the Bhagavatam that worship the Guru, consider the Guru the same as me. He is equal to me. Do not, and think of him favorably. Do not think of him unfavorably ever. And do not ever apply your intellect in his actions, in whatever he does, because all forms of divinity reside within the Guru. So worship the Guru in the same way as we worship Sri Krishna, as we worship God. Same. But we have not been able to do this over the course of so many lifetimes. Why? Because we lack faith. We lack faith. And to have faith means to think favorably only. Only favorable thoughts. Just as if a housewife, she is having her meal and her husband comes along and adds ghee in her food. So she is happy. A little while later, he comes and adds garbage to her food. And she's just as happy as she was when he added ghee. Is there any such wife in the world? Of course not. Of course not. That means the wife is not devoted to the husband. No. So the vow of fidelity means that we align our actions or our desires with the desire of anyone whom we love, whether it's mother, father, husband, anyone for that matter. Our desires are aligned with theirs. We don't apply our intellect in anything and everything they do. We simply accept and embrace. If you look at the life of Saint Tukaram, you will find that he maintained full confidence in the grace of God despite the loss of his wealth, the loss of his wife, his son. Everything was lost. But his faith did not falter. So Hari Guru Bhaju Nit. Because it is our Guru who will bring us to God realization. It is our Guru who holds our hand and walks us to God. It is our Guru who does everything for us. He does all the hard labor, fights with our sanskars, and constantly and consistently inspires us and does so much more to elevate us, to enrich us as individuals, as souls. And the second is Hari Guru Bhaju Nit Nishkamta. Nishkamta means selflessness. So desire is opposed to love. Where there is constant desire, there cannot be love. And where there is constant love, there cannot be desire. And where there is give and take, that is business. That is business. So, where the desire is to receive, that cannot be love. But where one gives everything, and even so, the attitude is and the desire is to continue giving even more and more and more, that is love. That is love. And this love, it doesn't exist in the world. It doesn't exist in the world. Why? Because everyone desires their own happiness. Everybody desires their own happiness. So where there's always a desire for one's happiness, how can there be true love? How can there be true love? So when both parties are seeking their own personal happiness, looking out for their own self-interest, naturally, how long is that relationship going to last? And how can it be amicable? That is why we see that there is constant dispute and conflict between a husband and wife, son and father. There's constant. When both parties are looking for their own happiness, inevitably there is going to be conflict. And that farce that goes on, what we call worldly love, what happens to it? It gets exposed for what it really is. For what it really is. And love just ends right there. So, desire, the need for the fulfillment of desire, it always, desire for love, for worldly love, it always decreases. But divine love has a nature to always multiply endlessly for eternity. That is why the scriptures say that love is light and desire is darkness. And then there is selflessness. Sri Maharaji tells us that we must practice to never forget God for even a moment. For even one moment, we should not forget. Although we intermittently remember God, but not continuously, not constantly. And that is what we need to do, is remember Him constantly. We may devote and dedicate time to devotion. We set aside time for devotion, and even though during our sadhana and prayer we remember and absorb our mind in the loving remembrance, however, throughout the day we forget. We forget. And Sri Krishna says that the one who remembers me alone, only me, I am very easy to find. Sri Krishna says. He goes on to say further that attachment should be to me alone. No worldly attachment should enter the mind. No worldly attachment whatsoever. Just me alone. Now, do we do that? Do we remember Him exclusively? No. And this is where we have failed over the course of so many lifetimes, which is why we have not yet reached our goal. So surrender constitutes being constant, continuous, and that is what we have to strive for. That is what we have to achieve. That is our goal. There was once a housewife who was pounding rice with a pestle, and her husband came home and asked for a glass of water. So what did she do? She left the pestle because she wanted to attend to her husband, and the pestle was going back into the thresher, and she decided to let it go. So what happened was, when she went to get water for him, it was suspended in the air. It became suspended in the air, and so after, when she served him water, and then she grabbed it and started and continued pounding the rice. So her neighbor friend was there watching, and she was astonished. She was fascinated by what had happened. She thought, oh wow, this is such a miracle. So she asked her, well, how did you do that? That was a miracle, she said. And she said, well, nothing of the sort. I'm just a faithful wife, she said. And so the neighbor thought, well, I'm loyal too. I'm loyal to my husband as well. So by loyalty and by being faithful, she interpreted that as being faithful physically. So she went home and narrated the whole thing to her husband and told him to do exactly what her husband did. So he did. And what happened? When she let go of the pestle, it fell and hit her nose, and it fell to the ground. So he started laughing. The husband started laughing. And he says, this failure proves your infidelity. That's what he said. So the wife was mortified, and so she ran to the neighbor's house and she said, you destroyed everything. You said you were faithful. And the neighbor said, yes, I did. But being faithful isn't about being faithful only physically. Being faithful is about never, ever, even once having a negative or unfavorable thought. That is being faithful. So Shri Krishna says that we have to remember him exclusively and single-mindedly. And when we will do that, what will happen? When we engage in sadhana, what will happen? Devotion, detachment, and spiritual knowledge simultaneously will manifest. To whatever degree we attach and engage our mind in the loving remembrance of God, to that degree, devotion, detachment, and spiritual knowledge will dawn in our heart. That is what will happen. Just as when we eat food, when we're hungry, what happens? We feel satisfied, we gain strength, and we feel appeased. So all of these three happen at the same time. They happen simultaneously. That is what happens. We feel satisfied. We feel the strength, and we feel appeased. In the same way, when we practice single-mindedness, that is what will happen. Now, on the practical side of things, Shri Maharaji has made it so very easy for us. He tells us that we must first and foremost remember God. Remembrance. Because remembrance is what our mind does. Our mind has to be purified, and only our mind can do remembrance. Just as when we chant verbally, we walk to the temple, we do seva with our hands, we do have darshan of Sri Yugal Sarkar in the shrine, we hear Sri Maharaj's divine lectures, we engage our senses, but our mind alone has to be purified, and our mind is what is the faculty of remembrance. It's our mind that does remembrance. So we have to engage and absorb our mind in loving remembrance. And when we remember, what do? What are we supposed to be doing? When we spend time with God during our sadhana, what are we supposed to be doing? There is a story. Once a girl, she pleaded with a saint to come to her house to pray for her father who was not well. And she told the saint that her father was so ill that he could not even move. And so the saint kindly accepted her request. And so he came to the house and he found that the old man was laying in his bed with his head on two pillows, and there was a chair in his room. And so the saint assumed that that chair had been placed for him. So when he entered, he said, "Oh, so I guess you were expecting me," because when he saw the chair there. And so the father asked him, "Who are you?" So the saint introduced himself, and the father of the girl said, "Please close the door behind you." The saint was a bit surprised, but he did so anyway. And the father began to confide in the saint. And he said that, "I've never even told this to my daughter, but I'm telling you that, I used to go to the temple. I used to hear the priests chant, but I never felt any connection. It all went over my head. I never felt any connection whatsoever. It wasn't until a few years ago when my friend told me that reciting verses isn't the way to gratify God. No. He told me to place a chair in front of me and imagine that God is sitting in the chair and remember and talk to him, just as I'm talking to you right now." So the man said that that's what I started doing. I placed a chair in my room. This is a chair, and I imagine that God is sitting in the chair in front of me, and I talk to him. And I spent hours talking to him. This is what I do. And I felt and experienced such a transformation from within. I felt such affinity and affection and closeness with God as a result of remembering him in front of me and talking to him. Just talking to him. So the saint then bid farewell. He placed his hand on the head of the old man, and he left. A couple of days later, the daughter called the saint and told him that her father had passed away. And so the saint asked her, "Did you see anything unusually different about your father? Was he okay when he passed on?" And she said, "Yes. He had a very peaceful and a very serene look. In fact, when I was going to work, he called me and he kissed my forehead that morning. And when I came, he had closed his eyes. He was gone. But there was one thing that I noticed, which is rather unusual. I noticed that when I came home, I noticed his head was in the chair. In the chair, as if his head was in the lap of God. In the lap of God. That's what I saw. And the saint's eyes welled up in tears. And he thought, how I wish that when I depart from this world, that is exactly what I do. That my head is in the lap of God. In the lap of God. How I wish. And he told the girl that your father, that's what he did. He had such deep faith in the presence of God. And he was having conversations, talking to him for hours. He had such deep love and deep connection with God. So this is exactly the essence of Sri Maharaj's divine teachings to us. This is exactly what we have to do. Talk to Sri Radha Krishna. That's all we have to do. Because we are seeking fulfillment, we are seeking love, we are relentlessly desiring it. And they are the givers. They are the givers. So what do? We ask. We simply ask. But in order to ask, we have to bring them in front of us. We bring them in front of us and beg them humbly. Humbly beg them for the alms of their divine love. That is all we have to do. And Sri Maharaji has composed so many dohas in the Radha Govind Geet, all of Sri Maharaji's divine pads and compositions, and all of these are what? What are they? They are conversations. Sri Maharaji has given us conversations to have with them. So during sadhana, what are we supposed to be doing? Conversing with them. Every pad that we chant is in essence a conversation with Sri Radha Krishna. And by means of that pad of humbleness, Dainya Madhuri, Siddhant Madhuri, any kirtan, any doha, anything that we chant, what is it? It's a conversation that Sri Maharaj has given to us. So we utilize that, engage in their loving remembrance, and talk to them. In essence, we are seeking their divine love, the alms of their divine love. That's all we're doing. And He has already given us so much. And if we don't want to use any of them, we can create our own conversation with them. It doesn't matter. And that chair, we can bring it out anytime. We can bring it out anytime, anywhere. It doesn't have to be in our room. It doesn't have to be here in the prayer hall. We could be anywhere. We could be in a park. We could be at a waterfall. We could be at a beach. We can just bring that chair out. Seat them on the chair and just talk to them. That's all it is. We spend hours and hours and hours chitter-chatter talking to people, entertaining them. Why not entertain Radha Krishna? Why not? That is what our devotion is. That is exactly what our sadhana is. So Sri Maharaji tells us that we must talk to Sri Radha Krishna, because they are eagerly and earnestly waiting for us to turn our heart toward them. Every day, day after day, what are we doing? What are we doing? We are spending hours on end turning our heart toward the world and begging. That's all we're doing. With all the superficial chitter-chatter that we do, all our conversations, everything, all of our frivolous engagements. What are we doing? We're seeking that. We're seeking happiness. And how ignorant of us to seek it in the world, even though we have been told repeatedly by Sri Maharaji to seek it in them, through them. So when we do this, when we follow Sri Maharaji's Agya, when we heed his divine teachings, then what will happen? That omnipresent divine grace will begin to permeate within us. It will begin to purify us. It will begin to elevate us. And to that extent, our longing and our yearning for the world will begin to diminish, and our longing and our yearning for God will begin to flourish. It will begin to thrive. Our heart will begin to thrive. That is what will happen. And we will not feel the need to entertain anyone as such. We wouldn't care. We wouldn't be worried what people will think or say. It does not matter. We would become nonchalant, worry-free. We wouldn't be concerned. No, because our heart will be rejoicing in our sadhana that we were doing. That confidence, that conviction will begin to manifest within us. Because in the world, we're always concerned about, oh, if I don't do this, the person will be upset. So we care so much about what other people are going to think, but we don't care about what Radha Krishna will think if we ignore them. So devotion is really so simple. Sri Maharaji has made it so simple. All we need is desire, and which we all have. We all have that desire. So if we simply desire, cultivate our desire, nurture our faith, that is by way of practice, that is all we have to do. And by the way, we're not doing it alone. If our heart has surrendered to Sri Maharaji, he's holding our hand and walking alongside us. We're not doing it alone. So don't think that we have to do it ourselves. No, Sri Maharaji is with us every millisecond, helping us, mentoring us, guiding us, inspiring us, doing everything, so long as we desire it. That's all. So, a journey away from deceit. A journey away from deceit and a journey to the divine. That is what we will make by adhering to Sri Maharaji's divine teachings, and that humility that enslaves God will enslave Sri Radha Krishna, because that is what Sri Maharaji's divine philosophy, that is what it gives to the soul, to us, is that humility and that childlike innocence. We circle back to my first lecture. That's childlike, simple, innocent heart that we need to cultivate will happen. We will be able to do that with Sri Maharaji's grace if we simply cultivate his divine teachings according to his divine instructions. So this ends the explanation of this pad Vanshivare Savre Sunu Re. श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की, श्रीमद् युगल सरकार की, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे।